guys, my name is Vidhi Kalra and welcome back to my channel 5 Minute Economics, where I teach economic concepts in a span of just 5 minutes. Well, today I am going to start a new series on my channel which is called the Demand Series. Well, whoever is associated with economics definitely knows how important is demand in the crux of economics. Actually, whenever we start studying economics, demand is the first thing we are taught. And that's why I thought to make a series of demand videos for all of you. Demand topic is very important at the school level, at undergrad level, even for preparation of competitive examination. So it is, though according to me, a simple topic, but a very important one. In today's video, which is the part 1 of the demand series, I'll be discussing demand and its types. We know that what is demand and the various types of demands like the individual, market demand, ex ante, ex post demand, and further I'll be progressing with other videos of demand as well. So yeah guys, watch this video and don't forget to like and subscribe. Also do follow me on my Instagram page, which is also called 5 Minute Economics. So firstly guys, let me explain to you what does actually demand mean. So basically, demand is the desire backed by the willingness and ability to pay. Now you will say, what does it actually mean? Now I'll give you an example after which you'll clearly understand the difference between a desire and a demand. So a beggar's desire to travel by an airplane is merely a pure desire. Why is it a desire? Because neither does he have the ability nor does he have the willingness to pay for that airfare. Okay, but a businessman's desire to travel by air is his demand. Why it is his demand? Because he has the ability as well as the willingness to pay that particular airfare. Okay, so basically when the desire is backed by the willingness and the ability to pay, it is known as demand. In economics, this is the definition. The one I've highlighted in red is the one which is actually used. Demand can be defined as the amount of commodity that the consumers are willing and able to purchase at various prices during a particular period of time. Now, I am someone who will never ask you to learn or memorize the definition. Not because that I couldn't do that back in school, but to be honest, guys, who actually asks for definitions? You should know what does it mean. That is all what is required. No one will ask you definitions. Actually, nowadays that's outdated. But what does it mean, guys? Through this definition, we have to remember some key terms which will have to be kept in mind always while explaining what is demand. Okay, so here I've mentioned to you that demand is the amount of a commodity that the consumers are willing and able to purchase. I've highlighted these two things, right? During a particular period of time and at various prices. Now, three things to be kept in mind when we are, writing something about demand are these in black. Demand is basically an effective desire. Why is it effective? I just explained to you, because it has ability and willingness. So an effective desire is basically known as demand. Secondly, guys, demand is always cast at a price. My demand to travel to maybe Mumbai, when the flight fare is 5,000 is my demand, but when the flight fare is maybe 20,000, I don't wish to travel, right? So if I don't put the fares, it's just very ambiguous. So definitely demand is always at a particular price. When there is no price, the demand means no, it has no meaning. Okay, and thirdly, demand is a flow concept. So in economics, we have two types of concepts, guys: stock and flow concept. Stock concept is when we measure something at that point of time. At 12 p.m., this is the amount of goods. Okay, and flow concept, as the name suggests, is flowing. So it is over a particular period of time, maybe a week, a month, a year. So demand is always over a period of time. That's why it has a flow concept. So these three pointers have to be kept in mind whenever we are speaking about demand. So I hope you are clear with what is demand and what is the difference between a desire and a demand. So firstly, guys, let's come to the types of demand, where I'll be simultaneously explaining to you the very two concepts, individual and market demand. So as the name suggests, individual demand is a quantity of a commodity that an individual consumer is willing to purchase at a particular price during a particular period of time. In economics, an individual consumer is also known as household. Okay, that's their favorite word, so don't forget it. So individual consumer is known as household, which means that this individual demand is also known as consumer demand or household demand. So don't get confused if these words are used instead of individual demand. For example, the quantity of milk that an individual consumer is purchasing per day, okay, at a particular price. So that is what an individual consumes, is this individual demand. Whereas simply, guys, market demand is a quantity of a commodity that all households are willing to buy at a particular price during a particular period of time. An example of this is the total milk with all the which all the buyers are willing to purchase at a particular price over a period of time, maybe a week or month or so. But here we have all households, and here we have only an individual. So guys, moving ahead to the other two types of demands which are studied in economics. Number one is the ex ante demand, and this is the ex post demand. So you must be wondering what actually is ex ante and ex post demand. Well, very simple. Ex ante demand is that demand which we actually intend to purchase or intend to buy, whereas ex post demand is what we actually buy or what we actually purchase. So refers to the quantity or the amount of goods that a consumer wants or intends to purchase during a particular period at a particular price that we know it will always come. So basically it is like the planned or the desired amount, whereas what we intend to actually buy, it refers to the ex post demand. Actually they purchase, and this is actually bought demand. For example, while before going for shopping, I intend to buy 5 kgs of apple, right? But when I go, the shopkeeper has only 3 kgs. So my ex ante demand was 5 kgs of apples, but my ex post demand was only 3 kgs because that was not available. So sometimes it might happen that our ex ante demand is more. In this case, it was 5 and we purchased only 3. And sometimes it might happen that, because it is available at a cheaper price or due to some XYZ reason, our ex post demand is more than our ex ante demand. So I hope you're clear with the two. So guys, moving ahead to our other two types of demand, which trust me, which are very interesting to study. So number one is joint demand. Now, as the name suggests, joint demand means demand for two or more goods which are used jointly or demanded together for the satisfaction of one want. For example, very simple. I think the first example which everyone thinks of is car and petrol. A car without petrol is of no use, right? And just petrol, we wouldn't use it actually. So car and petrol, milk and sugar, bread and butter, there are many examples. If you have something in your mind, you can even write down in the comment section below. So joint demand is basically when two goods are demanded together for the satisfaction of one demand, which is driving here in this case, right? Also guys, one more thing has to be noted. While you can, this is for extra knowledge which of course will be helpful for you while we study a demand ahead, is that the demand, or when the price of one rises, the demand of the other falls. Why does this happen? Just think logically, guys. Price of petrol rises, people will be less willing to purchase a car. They might want to wish to travel from a public transport rather than their own car because the price of petrol is rising. So the price of petrol increasing will lead to a fall in the demand for cars. Don't worry, we'll be studying all these concepts in thorough detail in future, but for your knowledge, you should know it from now. Next, guys, moving ahead to composite demand. Now, what is composite demand? Demand for goods that have multiple uses. There are some things which are used for not one thing, but many other things. For example, electricity. We know electricity is used for lighting, cooking, heating, and many other purposes, right? So that is basically known as composite demand. Something else we all know, we can say steel. Steel is used for various purposes, right? So that is also a demand, composite demand. Now, at times, composite demand is also known as rival demand. Now, you will think, how can composite demand be known as rival demand? Well, guys, that is true, because what happens is, supposingly the price of electricity falls. Now, everyone wants to use more electricity because it has so many uses. It's more, we want to use it more for lighting, and because of that, it is less available for cooking, maybe because we are using so much for lighting, so cooking ke liye it is less available, and there is a rivalry amongst both the things, both the everyone wants electricity. So that's why composite demand is also known as rival demand. Again, this is not asked very frequently, but extra knowledge is never harmful. So remember that composite demand is also known as rival demand. Moving ahead to the other two types of demands, which are direct and indirect demand. So as the name suggests, direct demand is when the commodity is demanded all by itself for its own use. For example, a t-shirt, a pen maybe, or jeans, anything, guys. You can just take anything and you will know that when we directly demand a thing, it's known as direct demand. It is also known as autonomous demand. Whereas when we step into or speak about derived demand, or also known as indirect demand, it is demand for a commodity that arises because of demand for some other commodity. Okay, we are not demanding that commodity directly, but because we want some other commodity, we have to, demand the other commodity. For example, labor. Now, no one demands labor, right? For example, I want a pen, so the person who is making a pen needs some people to make that pen. So when he is, hiring some people, those labor are indirectly demanded. No one is asking for labor, but we are asking for pen. But because we want that pen, we want some labor to produce that pen, and that is the indirect or derived demand. For example, when we ask for a chocolate cake, okay, so we our direct demand is the cake, but when the baker is baking, he wants cocoa powder, baking powder, flour, etc., so many things to put in, right? So in that case, that flour, that, cocoa powder, all of that is indirect or derively demanded, whereas cake is the directly demanded good. So lastly, guys, moving ahead to the other three types of demand, which are very important to study, the crux of economics. And before moving ahead, we need to complete on these. So what is price demand? Basically, as the name suggests, it is the functional relationship between demand for a commodity and its price. When we compare a demand for something along with its price, it's known as price demand. For example, anything, a t-shirt at a particular price. Usually, guys, price demand has an inverse relationship. More the price, lesser is the demand, of course, right? You know that if the thing is very expensive, very few people will purchase it. If it is cheaper, more people are going to demand that good. Secondly, income demand. Now, as the name suggests, income, functional relationship between demand for a commodity and the level of income. This is not related to the price of the commodity at all. Whatever be the price, we are not concerned. Price is not touched over here, but only my income and the demand. That is usually, if you think, guys, it will have a direct relationship. Well, it's not always true, but in most cases, as our income rises, we tend to demand more, and as our income falls, we tend to demand less. So here there is a direct relationship, isn't it, guys? And lastly, cross demand. As the name suggests, cross demand, when demand for a good is affected by a change in the price of other good. Okay, we are not seeing the price of that particular good, how we saw in the first case. Neither are we seeing our own income, but here we are seeing the price of some other good. I just explained to you joint demand, right? And there I told you about car and petrol. Similarly, here example of cross demand, I've taken car and petrol. The price of petrol rises, the demand for car falls. Now, car and petrol are basically complementary goods. Another example for cross demand can be tea and coffee, which are actually substitute good, basically used in place of each other. Well, I'm not going in very detail of this topic, but because I've already made a very detailed video regarding this particular topic, which is known as types of goods, I'll attach that link in the description below, so watch that video out. I have explained other types of goods, inferior goods, given goods, normal goods, as well as complementary and substitute goods in that particular video. So this is all, guys, for the part 1 of demand video. Thank you so much for watching this video. In the second part, which will be coming out very soon, I'll be starting with the law of demand, as well as extension, contraction, increase and decrease of demand, and the other things will follow soon. So thank you, guys, for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Pretty soon.